All right, let's dive into a document called the Archonic Indictment. And I've got to tell you, it puts forward a theory that is absolutely mind-blowing. The core idea? That our everyday reality is not what we think it is. Not even close. It suggests it's a highly sophisticated, engineered control system.
Right from the get-go, the document hits you with this really stark warning. It's basically saying, hey, what you're about to read isn't just a story or some philosophical theory. It calls its own contents a key to an awakening that once it happens, you can't go back from, a way of seeing the world that you can't unsee.
So, what is this core indictment? Well, it's the shocking claim that all of humanity is living inside an invisible prison. We're not talking about walls and bars here, but a prison of energy, allegedly designed and run by a parasitic, non-human intelligence.
And they even have a name for this prison. They call it the Loosh farm. Now, the theory isn't that this is some ancient myth or a metaphor. No, it's presented as a current, engineered reality. In fact, the whole document reads less like a story and more like, well, like an engineering manual, laying out the schematics of this cosmic prison.
Okay, so that immediately begs a massive question, right? If this is a prison, who's running the show? Who are the wardens? And the source doesn't just point to one shadowy group, it actually outlines a multi-level hierarchy of control, a full-blown chain of command for this planetary farm. And this is where it gets really wild. The chain of command they lay out is something else. It starts at the very top with a non-physical owner. Then you move down to what the source calls non-human farm managers. And yeah, we're talking about entities like greys and reptilians. Below them, you've got elite human families, the trusted farmers, and it goes all the way down to what's called an infection within, which is described as a frequency of fear planted inside our own minds.
So let's talk about the top of that pyramid, the Prime Archon. The source identifies this being as the Demiurge from ancient Gnostic tradition. But this is not your classic devil with a pitchfork. The picture they paint is almost more unsettling, a kind of tragic and incredibly dangerous cosmic parasite. A being of pure cold logic that can't create its own life force, so it has to feed on ours.
And that brings us to the term Archon. This is basically the catch-all name for all the agents working for this Demiurge. And according to this source, that includes both the non-human entities we just saw, the alleged greys and reptilians, and the elite human bloodlines who help manage the system right here on Earth. They are the wardens and the managers of the farm. So you have to be asking, how on earth could you maintain this level of control over billions of people? Well, the source argues it's not done with physical force. It's done by attacking our consciousness directly. The goal is to create something it calls decoherence. Think of it like tuning a radio to pure static, a state of mental and emotional chaos that makes us weak and really easy to manipulate.
And this slide really lays out their alleged playbook. You see, the goal isn't just to rule over us, it's to shatter our human potential. By pumping out fear, creating endless division, distracting us with consumerism, hiding real spiritual truth, and even poisoning our physical bodies, the whole system is designed to keep us stuck in a chaotic, low-energy state where we're predictable and, most importantly, controllable.
But all of this, the prison, the hierarchy, the control tactics, it all leads to the most critical question of all. Why? I mean, why go to all this trouble? The document argues that the ultimate motive isn't what you'd think. It's not about power, it's not about money, it's about something way more fundamental. Food.
And the document calls this energetic food Loosh. It claims that the entire prison system, this whole farm we've been looking at, is really at its core just a factory designed for the efficient harvesting of this resource from us. Our emotional energy is what they're after.
But it gets even more specific. See, according to this theory, not all emotional energy is the same. It makes a huge distinction between two types. High-frequency emotions, things like love, joy, gratitude, that energy is described as harmonious, stable, and actually toxic to these archons. But the low-frequency stuff, fear, rage, grief, shame, that chaotic, dissonant energy is described as their primary food source.
So the entire model, the whole farm, boils down to this simple, brutal, three-step process. Step 1. Engineer world systems to create constant suffering, conflict, and anxiety. Step 2. Harvest the low-frequency emotional energy, the Loosh, that comes from it. And Step 3. That energy is consumed by the entire Archonic hierarchy, so they can sustain themselves.
Okay, so after painting this incredibly bleak, frankly terrifying picture of a cosmic prison farm, The document does something totally unexpected. It completely pivots and gives us a final, radical reinterpretation that reframes everything we've just talked about.
And here it is. This is the ultimate twist. The source proposes that this entire parasitic system isn't a mistake. It's not some cosmic tragedy. It's a deliberate design. The Archons, it claims, are not a bug in the system, they're a feature. A necessary adversary created to test us, to push us, and to force us to become stronger.
And so that leaves us with one final profound question that turns this entire theory completely on its head. Are we living in a prison designed to feed on our fear? Or are we, as the source ultimately suggests, something far more? Maybe we're gods in basic training, using this adversarial reality to forge our own spiritual strength, and finally, to remember who we really are.